Hello, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm Patrick O'Riordan, the Director of the Department of Building Inspection. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to ask questions, share your perspective, and offer your advice on how we can improve. Hearing from you is a critical part of our improvement efforts, and we're fortunate to have you as our partners. Now, we have an important update today from Ian Long of the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission about their new plan check station here at 49 South Van Ness. After that, we'll open it up to the floor for general questions and comments so we can hear from you directly about what's working, what we can improve on, and how we can better serve you and the city. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to DBI Communications Director Patrick Hannon, who is facilitating today's program. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm Patrick Hannon, DBI's Communications Director. I'm on with our Public Information Officer, Kelly Amrin. And Kelly, do you want to explain to people how they can participate and provide feedback today?
Yes, thanks, Patrick. If you're joining us today on your desktop or your Teams application, and if you have a question, you can click the raise button at the top of this meeting to raise your hand and wait until it's your turn to speak. If you're calling into this meeting over the phone and have a question, feel free to dial *5 to raise your hand and wait in line until it's your turn to ask a question. And when I call your name, you can click on the unmute button if you're on your desktop or Teams application. If you're calling in over the phone, please dial *6 to unmute. And please be sure to state your name and organization if you are representing one. And thank you so much.
Terrific. Thank you, Kelly. Now, we're going to turn it over to Ian Long of the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. At the end of his presentation, he has a brief presentation. At the end, you are welcome to ask him some questions. And then we'll have an extended question and answer period if you have questions about the PUC's new station or about anything related to permitting, building permitting in San Francisco. All right, Ian, take it away.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Long. I'm the manager of the SFPUC team here at the Permit Center. And today I want to talk a little bit about the new permitting station that we recently implemented. Next slide, please. Thanks. Starting June 1st, SFPUC staff began reviewing permits for compliance with SFPUC programs. This is a new station. It will show up as SFPUC-PRG in the permit routing, and it's required only for in-house permits. So this new station does not apply to over-the-counter permits. And most of the permits that are going to go through this review will be new construction permits, and as well some alteration permits will need to be reviewed. In all, we estimate approximately 15 to 20% of all of the in-house permits that we receive, that SFPUC receives, will need to go through this additional step. A couple benefits of doing this. Oh, just one more point on the last slide. Thanks. A couple benefits of doing this are that project sponsors are notified of SFPUC programs requirements earlier in the permitting process, and they're also connected with staff that will assist them with the compliance process. So touching on, what are the SFPUC programs? These are a few ordinances, codes, and regulations that the SFPUC administers, mostly enacted through some state or local legislation. They apply to new developments, renovation projects, and certain business activities. Program compliance assists in conserving natural resources, safeguarding water and wastewater infrastructure, and providing and protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the people of San Francisco. So most of these programs apply to either construction projects or business activities that impact the city's water, sewer, and stormwater systems. So this is a list of all the current programs that the SFPUC administers. We have several that fall under wastewater resources, several related to water resources, and then a couple that the power enterprise has been administering, as well as the hydraulic capacity assessment, which our engineers work on. And that's related to new fire suppression of the structure, so hydrants and sprinklers. Some of you might be familiar with the SFPUC checklist. This is a form that we have been using at the Permit Center for several years now to collect information related to all these programs. Many of them have been around for almost a decade at this point. And so we distribute this form when we need to collect some information about a project. And if you'd like to take a look at this, there's a link at the bottom. This form will remain a tool that we use here at the Permit Center. However, the primary means of collecting the information we need is now transitioning to the review. So we'll be reviewing submittal documents, project plans, permit applications, and determining which programs might be applicable. So getting back to how the permitting station is going to work, while the SFPUC program's approval will allow a permit to proceed through the process, compliance with the programs may not actually be complete. Some of those timelines are separate. We don't want to hold up the permit. So we'll allow you to continue, and we will send you a letter that indicates which programs may apply to the permit. If there's a need to comply with any of the programs, the specific compliance steps are determined by staff at SFPUC headquarters. These are the program managers and program staff that are charged with administering each of these individual programs, and they'll reach out when necessary to follow up on the compliance steps. Additionally, SFPUC staff who conduct the SFPUC capacity charges reviews, which have been in place, I believe, since 2005, are also conducting the SFPUC programs assessment. So folks who are familiar with the permitting process, who've been working here at the Permit Center, are completing this new review as well. The SFPUC station is assigned by SFPUC management, not DBI intake staff. This is something that's similar to DPW and DPH processes to assign permits for additional reviews by teams that they have internally. The capacity charges review will continue to be represented simply as SFPUC in the permit routing. And this makes sure to keep things simple for DBI intake staff, as well as ensuring data integrity for historic data that we have about that review station. So if you'd like more information about all of the programs or any of the programs, we have a page on our website where you have links to each of the individual program pages, and a link for that is at the bottom of this page.
Terrific. Thank you, Ian. Kelly, do we have any callers that want to provide feedback or have questions for Ian?
Yes, it looks like we have a question from Fiona Woods. Fiona, whenever you're ready.
She needs to unmute.
Okay, Fiona, we'll get right back to you. Next, we have a question from David Penn.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Afternoon. Thank you, Ian, for the presentation. My question really is, do you have, are you going to be getting any additional staff for this, and what do you expect the impact would be on PUC's other plan check responsibilities and obligations and timelines?
Sure, that's a good question. And thankfully, one of the other benefits of this change is that we can collect fewer checklists. So currently, we've been processing a lot of the checklists that aren't actually necessary given the scope of individual projects. So we're going to be reducing the amount of checklists that we'll be processing, and instead we'll be focusing on projects that are really going to need to comply with one of these programs. So it sort of helps get rid of some administrative burden, create some time for folks to do a little bit more deep thinking on the projects that matter.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David. Next, we have Tony. Tony, feel free to unmute and ask us your question.
Hi, thank you. This is Tony Sanchez, Korea. I had a question regarding the stormwater control plan. Do you now submit your stormwater control plan and then let the site permit then is able to then move on and get approved and then complete your stormwater control plan in the addenda process?
So the preliminary stormwater control plan is still required before a permit can be issued. And that only affects a small number of projects, new construction projects, for folks who may not be familiar. And I believe it's over 2,500 square feet of paved or impervious surface in separate sewer areas and 5,000 square feet of paved or impervious surface in combined sewer areas, which is most of the city.
Okay, so any site permit has to have the stormwater control plan approved prior to its issuance.
Yes, the program managers for the stormwater program have asked that we continue to require approval.
Okay.
Prior to permit approval.
Thank you.
Permit issuance.
Great. Thank you, Tony, for your question. Do we have any more questions? Okay, looks like we don't. Okay, does anyone have any suggestions for future topics for the Public Advisory Forum? Aha, okay, we have Jillian Allen. Jillian, feel free to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I did want to raise the issue that happened when we changed the permitting sort of procedures in January with full building permits that have a Maher application in process with the Department of Public Health. We used to be able to file our full building permit in parallel to that process happening, and the permit would just be on hold for issuance until the preliminary site mitigation plan was approved. Now we have to wait until the site mitigation plan is approved before we can even file the building permit. So that is creating, in some situations, over a year of delay on even getting the building permit comments out because we can't actually file it. It's still okay to file a site permit, but we have a lot of projects that can do a full building permit, and this is creating some havoc.
Kelly, I'll take a quick stab at that.
Yep.
Hi, Jillian. Thank you very much for that comment. I am in communication with public health about this and looking to get some sort of agreement on them when it's okay to start the building permit process. I think they understand sometimes the urgency of some permits, or at least getting that filing in, and us putting a do not issue on the permit application. I believe most people online here. If you have a disagreement with that, please let me know. But I think it'd be okay to process and have a do not issue flag on the permit application. But like I said, it's an ongoing conversation right now with public health.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just if we really appreciate you moving that forward.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Neville. Thanks, Jillian, for your question. And Tony, looks like you have another question. Feel free to ask us the question.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a follow-up question regarding the expiration of permits. And it's unclear to me when that time period starts and stops. So if you could provide us some information of, is it once the planning department has approved the permit and the building department has started, when is the clock starting and stopping? Especially with this new state legislation and the way the planning department is going to be approving these permits. Yeah, I'd like to know when that expiration date starts and stops.
Kelly, I'll take a stab at that one too. Thank you for that question, Tony. We're in the process of updating information G6, I believe it is, that has to do with the expiration of permit applications. The date of when that time period starts is being looked at in that information sheet, and I really don't have any information or update on that for you today. I noticed that Willie Yao put his hand up, and so Kelly, if you can allow Willie to speak, maybe he has more information on that. Is that possible or not?
Probably not at this moment, Neville.
Okay. So
well, thank
okay,
you. I appreciate. Yeah, I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's being actively worked on right now. Thank you again for that question, Tony.
I just it'd be helpful to understand what that is because we get a lot of them.
Yes, we'll pin it down for you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Tony, for your question.
Oh.
All right. Next, we have a question from David Penn. David, let us know what your question is.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure if this was the right time, but my question essentially was about Bluebeam. We've heard some rumors that Bluebeam may be considered on the chopping block, and I just wanted to raise that point and also just kind of put my 2 cents in that Bluebeam is there was a big effort during COVID and the electronicization, is that a word, of the permit processing, and it is pretty widely accepted in the industry as an industry standard. It's much loved by architects and contractors who use it, and is working very well, and has just so much effort has gone into DBI and integrating that into their system. So I just wanted to raise that question and my concern about that possibility.
That's a great question, David. Neville, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Sure. Again, thank you, David, for that comment and concern. The subject is being discussed citywide as to what medium we'll use for electronic plan review. I hear you that Bluebeam is the industry standard. It actually happens to be the best of breed as well. There are other considerations that need to be taken into account into what we decide to use internally for the city, and those are being discussed right now. but like I said, there's a lot of departments that are part of the voice of the city, as well as you, our applicants. So we'd appreciate that feedback as well. There is something I'll let you know regarding the use of the Bluebeam session that has become problematic over time, and that Bluebeam doesn't have an immediate answer to be able to allow the applicant into the session at a discrete time versus the way it is right now at any time in the process, right? There's a disparity between some departments that are receiving revisions that are not in sync with other departments' revisions, and that is a concern for us at the city. But like I said, we are in active communications with the permit center on this. They do manage the Bluebeam licenses, and currently looking into alternatives as well. But we will introduce that to the public for more feedback before it's allowed to go too far down the road.
Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you, Neville.
Next caller, Kelly.
Great. Thanks, David. Next caller is Karen. Karen, whenever you're ready.
So my question is more of for the ABE people. First would be, is it going to be over the counter? And two, because we have another project for like a nonprofit that has limited funds. So we want to eliminate the back and forth of the plan check. So is there a preliminary review we could start with ABE plan checkers so when we go to plan check, it's just one transaction.
Thanks for your question. Neville, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, Jimmy, actually,
Yeah.
I'll have you weigh in on this.
Okay. Thank you. ABE programs are over the counter. Typically, the category checklist compliance form has a list of items that are deficient for that entry program. So if the design professional reads the category checklist compliance form and reads the fixes, it should be straightforward. If you have a specific project that you want to run it by me, you can email me at jimmy.chung@sfgov.org. It's going to be JIMMY dot CHEUNG@sfgov.org. So you can run them by me, and 99.9% are over the counter. Well, what I do suggest is if you have a big building with multiple storefronts, do one at a time, because we don't want to see 5 category checklist compliance forms for 5 different buildings, because that takes a lot longer to review. So only do one storefront at a time. And that it makes it easier to close out a permit too when you have only one versus 5 or 3. So yeah, just email me if you want to run by a set of drawings, but almost all of them are over the counter.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Karen. Looks like we have one more question from David Penn.
Oh gosh. Well, I did actually have another question, but I was going to wait and make sure nobody else was there. But this was this, Neville, I think is for you in regards to site permits. And this is something that's kind of been an ongoing issue, but I just wanted to raise the question to you. Oftentimes, right, a site permit is not a entitlement for construction, right? It's not a construction permit, does not come with a job card. But the way the process is that particularly if there's a demo associated, so if there's a complete demolishing of an existing building for the new proposed site permit, you can't get kind of one issued without the other, and green halo is required. And oftentimes, because there's not a contractor in place, because again, the site permit is not an entitlement, is not a permit to construct anything. So I just wanted to see if it was possible to kind of relegate the green halo requirements for the site permit to a construction addendum, and just have the demo permit obviously is going to need green halo and any asbestos remediation report or asbestos remediation permit in order to get that issued. But if the demo permit could be issued independently of the site permit, and if the site permit, green halo requirements for waste management tracking could be deferred to the first construction permit.
Okay. Let me see if I can piece this apart. As you know, David, there's a local San Francisco ordinance that requires that the demolition permit be held if it's for a residential building, at least till the site permit or after issuance of the site permit, right? You're aware of that. I believe if it's a non-residential permit, you should be able to pull that permit at any time, even before the site permit approval. Again, if I'm incorrect with that, Jimmy or anybody else, just step in and correct me. We had an interest in decoupling exactly what you're speaking about, decoupling the demolition permit from issuance of the site permit to a different time, and especially for non-residential permits. But I think specifically you're talking about moving the green halo aspect of a demolition permit to a later addenda. Is that correct?
No,
David?
actually, I'm asking about moving the green halo for the site permit to a later permit. The demo,
Oh,
the
yeah.
demo makes, yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense, in the real world of things. I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, it seems like we should be able to do that because, as you said, there is no construction with a site permit, and therefore we should be able to defer that clearance elsewhere. Let me put a pin in that and work out the logistics for that.
Okay, great.
That's a very good suggestion.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'm speaking to the clerks. It sounds like it's largely kind of a PTS technology issue where just they have to
Yeah.
put something into some field for green halo in order to issue the site permit. But maybe what can be put in there is some sort of deferral to the construction addenda. But thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're exactly right, and they're exactly right about that. It is a PTS issue that we should be able to get around. So thank you for bringing that up.
Cool, thank you.
Great. Thanks, David. Thanks, Neville. Next, we have a question from Fiona Woods. Fiona, feel free to unmute and let us know your question.
I'm so sorry. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Karen, I'm so sorry. Hi,
No worries.
everybody. Hi, Dave. So I had a question about an ADU permit. So I think you guys are doing a great job of trying to streamline the process, and obviously us as contractors and homeowners out here do appreciate that. But like my own permit, I'm a contractor and a homeowner for an ADU is bogged down there in almost 20 months. I've been running around, and it's I mean, I've been in touch with dozens of DBI representatives. Neville, I know you were out of the office yesterday, but I've been in touch with everybody at varying levels of authority. But I'm still here almost 20 months later and counting with no permit. Everything has been approved, but we're still here 20 months and counting. So I just don't understand why we just have to keep going back and around to every station when, there's some stations that are like, they don't need to see us again. It's no big change, and like, what's the plan for when this happens to somebody? That's what I've been asking the director. Hi, Mr. Reardon. Like, because people do, contractors and homeowners, architects and engineers, sometimes we fall through the cracks. But like, why can't we have a kind of like, oh, this is a problematic situation, let's get these people off our desk? Like, why can't we have a few more it just expedites some of this stuff, because it's making more work for you guys with things that you've already seen. Like, for example, Clinton in the street in the DPW has seen me 7 times. He's written, "No need to be here." Like, it just, I don't know, it's just such layers and layers of bureaucracy. And I know that the real deal with what you guys are doing is just trying to keep us safe here in San Francisco and get paid to issue the permits, and off we go. So we're just very, it's very frustrating because it costs a lot of money. And I wonder if you guys realize that it costs a lot of money to change all these things all the time. But also, as a contractor, it's really difficult to run your business without knowing when you're going to get a permit. It says on the website 3 to 6 months for mine, which was filed December 13th, 2022.
So thank you for calling in on this, Ms. Woods. As you know, so you may not know, this forum is generally not for any particular project in specific, specifically. It's more for in general. And I know you worded that that question kind of as a general question. I want to reassure you that we here at DBI and primarily across the city, we are here to facilitate permit issuance as opposed to the perception that we're not. Your specific case has an answer to it in that you filed a project with multiple parcels and are now asking to fragment those apart, which, as you can
No.
appreciate, if they were on the same set of plans, now those plans need to be broken apart. I'm sorry, go ahead. Did I?
Oh, yeah. No, and I was just going to point out that I really didn't mean to be talking about mine, because
Okay.
obviously it's the only thing that's in my life right now. I mean, this is really affecting my business. But the thing is that so I want to apologize for that. But when we send scores of emails and we don't get answers, we're kind of we hear what you're saying, and so we're going to have to go ahead and do that. But like, when my architect and engineer provided you a quick, easy solution to this, we just haven't heard back, and so they encouraged me to just ask you in the public forum, like, why are the ADUs getting so stuck? And is there not a way for, because I mean, this is just the latest in a list of stuff that just seems, because it's not really a safety issue, but like, why can't we do what you're asking, but not go all the way around again? Like, why are we making all the people who work down there do it all over again? It just seems a bit, I don't know, it's double timing,
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
So, yeah, again, I want to reassure you that there's nobody at DBI, at least, not deliberately trying to hold up any projects, even though, that perception is out there. We do try to facilitate that. Everybody in the organization, including Director Reardon, has a boss. And so those names are available to you as well. You have reached me. And other than the fact I haven't been in the office this week, we will look to facilitate your issue very specifically. But our communications group has published the contact information for everyone on our website on every page. We will look to also you can use the organization chart to figure out who reports to who and climb
No,
that.
yeah, obviously, I mean, you guys are very transparent, and I know exactly who's where, and in your beautiful new building. and I know how to see you guys there. You know, I mean, I've been working with the DBI for like 20 years. So, yeah, I just wonder though, going forward, how you guys can make a plan to make something more like how you make it sound. Because I have clients who ask me about ADU and they say, oh, I read about it on the website. It's so easy. They're really getting it together to fly through these ones because they want more housing stock. You know, but then other contractors I know and homeowners are getting similar delays to me. So like one thing I was thinking about is when you change the codes to make them basically easier for ADUs to be built, because we all want them, maybe that new code could backdate to all the people who have filed already, you know, or something. Just be more open about the code, you know, because like if you filed ages ago but you haven't managed to get your permit, maybe you could benefit from the new code if it was backdated in very specific situations where it's safe to do that.
Yeah, in response to that issue, though, the date that the permit application is filed actually determines what code you are
I know.
you are subjected to. So if you're looking to avail of current legislation that maybe relaxes the requirements, more specifically for ADUs, right? The sprinkler requirements have
Yeah,
dropped
that's
off,
what I'm thinking about.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
I had
and
my design because we had applied, for example, you know. But I
yeah.
mean, so we dealt with it, but it's a less beautiful design. But I don't have 85K for sprinklers.
Yeah, no, and we have created an internal process to work with the other departments so that you can actually refile your application under today's legislation. To avail of today's legislation, contact me or any one of our staff knows to contact me. We will keep your place in line and notify the other departments that this is simply a refile of an application. Nothing has changed other than the refiling of the application under new legislation to avail of the new legislation, and we'll move that forward.
So I'm very fond of my original permit number. I know it off by heart.
You won't get that, unfortunately.
I know.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Neville.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Neville. Thanks, Fiona. Do we have any callers with any additional questions or comments? Okay, looks like I don't see anyone's hands raised.
All right, well, terrific. Well, thank you, Kelly and Neville and Jimmy and everybody else, and Ian and everybody who joined us and asked questions and answered questions today. Oh, Kelly, looks like we have one more question from.
Yes. The 415-450 number. I've just unmuted you. Feel free to ask us your question. Feel free to click unmute.
All right, Kelly, do you want to show the slide? Perhaps the person's microphone isn't working so that they know how to show the slide with the email. If you didn't get a chance to ask a question or you feel more comfortable emailing it to us, you can email dbi.communications@sfgov.org and we will route it to Neville or the right person at DBI or in the city. Otherwise, we thank you guys all for joining us, and we hope you join us at the next DBI Public Advisory Forum on Wednesday, October 23rd. And we'll see you there. Thanks much.